Morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Thanks for joining the webinar this morning. Great to see a good turnout. We're here to talk about Microsoft Teams this morning. We've got a couple of stragglers by the looks of things, so we'll just give them a couple of minutes before we get started. Just a couple of introductions to get us started. My name's Colin. I head up service and support here at EZU. Most of us have probably spoken. I can see a lot of existing customers and new faces, which is great to see. I'm also joined by Adam, one of our highly experienced and certified Office 365 consultants. He'll be taking you through the platform this morning and just going into a bit more detail around Teams, and we've got a live demo coming up as well, so stick around for that. It's well worth seeing. So who is this webinar designed for? So this is a great session really for anyone that's looking to make the move to Office 365. So if you have on-premise equipment at the moment and you're a little bit unsure around Office 365 and some of the capabilities, especially around Teams, then this is a great session to sit on. Of course, also for customers that are already invested in Office 365. So you may already be running some elements of Office 365 already, and you may want to maximize the return on investment there. So you will find that Microsoft Teams that we're talking about today is likely to be included in the license that you have. And we'll touch on which licenses include Teams in a couple of slides. And of course, anyone that wants to just learn a little bit more around Teams, if you're already using it and you want to see some of the additional capabilities of Teams, then we'll take you through that this morning. So there is a brief agenda on the right-hand side there. We'll look at where Teams itself actually sits within Office 365 and understand how it interacts with the other elements of Office 365. We will look at the main features. We'll have a look at a live demo, which Adam will be taking us through. We'll understand a little bit more around the licensing as well, and then we'll look at some next steps in terms of how we can help you, so how EZU can help you with implementing Teams itself. So it looks like we've got most of the people joined now, which is fantastic. Just a little bit about EZU before we get started then on Teams. Like I say, some of you are new to EZU. Some of you have been established customers for quite some time. So just a recap in terms of who we are. We've been around for over 13 years. We're an independent IT provider. We are very much independent and privately owned to this day. And we have around 60,000 end user clients. That's the length and breadth of the UK. Feedback is really important to us. We have a feedback system in place where we always ask for a case study and feedback from all our customers in terms of everything we do here at EZU. That's working out to be a 4.9 out of 5 based on 121 verified reviews. So that's something we're really proud of. It's great to see. There is a small snippet on the right-hand side there in terms of that case study from M&H Plastics. Just a small snippet of what that customer is saying about EZU. In terms of our work ethic here, so we are passionate about all the vendors that we work with. As I say, we are privately owned, independent, so we work with a number of strategic partners and distributors. So passionate, not pushy is our motto and work ethic, if you like. To be passionate about all the vendors that we work with, but not to push anything onto you, the customer. We'll always listen to your requirements, your business requirements, and then we'll recommend a suitable solution accordingly. And then lastly, really, there is the Smile Train charity, which is a great charity that we're working very closely with. They're doing wonderful things, and we've supported them for many years now, and I think they're running some adverts on the TV if you've not seen them already. So it's definitely worth checking them out. You should have always have received our portfolio as well if you've attended the webinar today. So the 6 essential IT services for the modern workplace is what we've called it. It's our condensed version of our portfolio, if you like. So if you've not received that already, that'll be on its way to you. and collaboration is one of the main points that's included in this portfolio. So Teams, Microsoft Teams is very much part of the collaboration stack, if you like. So that's what we'll be focusing on quite heavily today. And that's pretty much all I got to mention on that slide there. So all I'll mention at this point is, if you've got any questions as we go through the slide deck today and take you through Teams, drop them into the comments section, and we'll try and address them as we go through the webinar today. But there will be some time towards the end where we'll address anything that's outstanding. So let's delve into it. So Teams itself, what is it? It's a great question. So before we get started, Teams is by far it's becoming the main communication tool within Microsoft Teams. It's going to be replacing Skype for Business very, very slowly. It's becoming the primary work tool, like I say, within the Office 365 stack. There's a comment there from Gartner. So Microsoft Teams itself will be just as common as Outlook, slowly but surely. And there's a number of benefits really that we're working with existing customers on with implementing Teams. The main features really are there on the right-hand side on the slide deck, and we'll take you through some of those points today on the webinar. On the next slide, I'm going to hand over to Adam. We'll try and identify where Teams itself sits within Office 365, and like I say, we'll take you through a little bit of a breakdown of the main features, and then we'll take a look at the live demo with an actual tenant on the screen here.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's Adam. Thank you very much, Colin, for that introduction. So let's get into what Teams is really all about and where it sits. Within Office 365, there are a number of collaboration elements. There's OneDrive for Business, and there's SharePoint Online. Now Teams sits in between those two products. Now we see that OneDrive for Business is personal data, up to 1 terabyte of worth of storage per user. You then have on the other side SharePoint Online. So we see that as very advanced requirements, and if you need greater security around documents or workflow processes within your systems. So Teams sits nicely in the middle of these two platforms. Teams we see is sort of short to medium term storage of documents or Excel workbooks, OneNote files, Planner, which we'll go through all that in the live demo shortly. But we see it very much as being that simple collaboration tool. So for example, if you're working on a tender document, you can quite easily and very quickly get it up and running and get it shared out between a number of users. You can all work on the document at the same time, and then you can get that done and finished in a timely manner. There's an awful lot of other things within Teams which we will go through, but we just wanted to show you at this point where we see Teams, where it sits within the other products within Office 365 itself. So yeah, if we go on to the main features then, very similar in a way to Skype for Business, but there's greater functionality. Skype for Business was a platform and has been in Office 365 for a while now. Obviously started off life as Link, but the Microsoft have gone down this Teams route for a couple of reasons. The first one is that Skype for Business isn't a multi-tenanted platform, what Office 365 is like. So it became very heavy on the number of servers that Microsoft had to provision to support that product. But also the way the world is actually changing. We now have what's called this modern workplace environment, where collaboration is a really big part of that. So it includes other things like simple messaging, chat, which we're all probably very familiar with, but there's a little bit of an enhancement to it. You've obviously still got your meetings, so you can host conference calls, dial-in conferences as well if you need someone to join via a mobile phone or a landline. Then you've also got your typical audio and video conferencing solutions and multi-room systems as well, if that's a requirement. The last one, which is we are going to focus on a little bit more of towards the end of the demo, is what the phone system brings to Microsoft Teams. Now, yes, you can within Skype for Business have that telephony ability, so you can call a mobile or landline, but it was in the past very limited to how the users could actually use. You'd have to port your numbers into Office 365. You would lose some of your control. You might be in contract with an existing telephony provider. So we're going to look at that in a little bit more detail and how Teams will really take advantage of what you've currently got available for telephony. So let's, I think we'll just dive into the actual live demo if we can, please, Colin.
Yeah, so let's get you seeing our screen first of all.
Okay, I think we're there. Yeah, so that's great. Fantastic. So this is Microsoft Teams. This is the typical clients that you will see. This is obviously on a Windows-based machine. Teams is available for Macs and also on iOS devices such as iPhones, iPads, and Android devices as well. One of the things, if you are new to Office 365 and you not had an Office 365 tenant as yet, Microsoft are pushing Teams quite heavily now, so that if you are a company with less than 500 users, if you create a new Office 365 tenant, you don't get Skype for Business online at all. It's got to be Microsoft Teams. So first of all, messaging. So this is one of the first features that we had on our list. Messaging is under what we see here is under this chat icon on the left-hand side. Now you can have a one-to-one chat, and you can also have a one-to-many conversation. As you can see here, we do have a one-to-many. So there's 3 of us at the moment in a conversation. Now, with Skype for Business Online, the messaging feature was very much instant messaging. So what I mean by that is if you close down your conversation window, you would lose that conversation. The one thing with Teams is that your chat or your messages are persistent. So you can come back the next day, the next week, next year, again on any device and still see your conversations and how they went and what was said. It's a very straightforward tool to use. You can create a new conversation. So I can start typing my name. It comes up from the address book. I click OK on there, start typing a new message. And there we go. Very, very straightforward. I've got a machine next to me as well, so I actually have this. So I can reply to that message right now, just to show you how it works. There we go, and you can see it's quite straightforward. The one thing to sort of be aware of, so you can quite easily distinguish a one-to-one message and a multi-party or three or more people, is that you can see the icon difference on the left-hand side. So you can actually see, gives you a brief snippet of obviously an A and an S that shows that there's an Adam in there and there's a Sam also in that conversation. If you wanted to have a one-to-one chat, but you wanted to add additional users, it's dead straightforward. Click on the icon at the top right, and then just start typing a name. And again, the address book appears, and then off we go. Click add. Obviously, it's detected that there's another conversation going on with those same people, so it's jumped us straight to the actual multi-party conference chat that we were having. Other things that we can do from chat is we can share our screen. We can share our desktop, or we can share an application. Again, it's really quite intuitive and very easy to use. Okay. Next one that we can do as well is what you might be hearing of quite a bit more is something that's called @mentions. So it's where we use the @ symbol. So it's a way that we can identify a user that we would either like a response to, or we want to make somebody aware of a certain either conversation or a certain selection of information. So we can quite easily do that by typing the @ symbol within the chat, and we can see who we would like to address this message to. So we can say, Sam, please see below, and we can then add another link in there. We can add a screenshot, we can attach a document. So there's a multitude of things that you can actually do. But what's good about this as well is that Sam will actually receive a message. He'll receive an email. If he's not in Microsoft Teams, he will receive that email to say that he has been mentioned in a conversation. So it's worthwhile, and it's a fairly new feature. You might have seen it within Outlook already. It's there. It's obviously now in Teams, and as from Ignite last week, the @mentions is coming to Word documents as well. Just briefly, other things we can do from here. So we can quite easily schedule a meeting. We can just give it a title, start time, end time, and then some details. And obviously, it's between these three people. You can include other things such as emojis if you really want to, and things like stickers as well. All adds to the bit of the fun of conversation. So that's quite simple, that messaging section of Teams. Now we're going to move on to the actual main collaboration section. This is what Teams is for a lot, and it's really, I think, what a lot of you will be interested in, and this is where people really see the benefit. So the collaboration section is found under what's called the Teams tab on the left-hand side. Now, there are two things just to be aware of. There's what's called a team, and then within a team, you have a channel. So you can structure your teams as however you want it to be. It can follow your company structure. So, for example, we have a sales team, a marketing team, finance team. Or if you want to, then you can break out a little bit and have a projects team, which we have. And then you can see underneath we have channels. Now, the users, or you can only see the teams that you have been given permission to see. Now, there are two permission sets. There's the owner and there's the member, and that's it. Owners obviously have a great mode control over what can be done within the team or the channel, and it's again really straightforward to create. If we wanted to create a new team, quite simple. Create team. Let's have one on. Now I'm going to cover off this in a minute. So let's just create this one for the time being, and I'll come back to it. Okay, give it a name. We can give it a description if we want to. We can then also set the privacy level. So only teams I add can see it. Public, so anyone can join. And then we can do an organizational wide privacy, which is very new now to Teams, is that everybody will automatically get added into this team. So for this time, at this moment in time, we're just going to have a private team. Click next. Creates a team. Now we're going to start adding some members. So again, we're going to have Sam, and we're going to have Colin. Hopefully, I don't know why I can't find Colin.
Oh, that's because we're, yeah.
Oh, yes.
I'm logged in
You're logged in as Colin.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Adam. Yes, sorry. Okay. Adam. Oh, yeah, it's done it already. Okay. Obviously, if you start typing other names, you can see the address book that comes up as well. So it makes it a lot easier to add people. Also, a sales team itself, if you use Office 365 groups. But we will discuss that in a little bit more detail in a minute. Let's put me back in. Add. Okay. Now here we can select who is an owner and who is a member. So by default, whoever creates the team is automatically the owner. They can then dictate the users or the members who have what rights. So I'm going to elevate these two accounts to owners. Close. And that's it. This is very straightforward and as simple as that. You can always click on the ellipsis for each team, get some additional information and details, or you can make some changes. So we can add other members. So again, we get that pop-up window that we saw earlier. And we can also add a channel. So a channel is just an area of that team, but it can be bespoke, it can be changed, so it doesn't have to. What you dictate at the team level for a structure doesn't have to flow through for each channel. So let's just call it code name, I don't know, Project X. Click add, and there we see a channel. So the let's have a quick. Okay. So let's go into a little bit more of the rest of the structure now within the team and the channel. You'll always get this general channel within any team that you create. It's not possible to delete it. It's always got to be there. What you can now see across the top is you can see the very straightforward conversation. So again, this is a conversation between the members or the users who have been added to that team. So please remember that the users you add in at the team level will always get access to all the channels underneath. So it's one thing to be mindful of within a structure is who needs access to what team and potentially what channel. So everything, each channel gets created with a conversations tab, a files tab. So we can upload files, add in, we can create new folders, Word documents, Excel, PowerPoint directly from the actual teams or the channel. We can then upload other documents as well that we have on our computer or within a shared drive that you might have or another area of your servers or systems. You've got other cloud storage here. So if it's applicable and you use something which is called Box, you can add the Box storage into your teams and your channels. So Box is another way of, it's another cloud storage platform, such as Dropbox. OneDrive is another cloud storage, but so yeah, that's how you can add it in and link it from there. There are lots of other tabs that we can create across the top. So we can create, if for a specific project, we might have OneNote. We might want to create some ad hoc OneNote files or any details or anything like that, that we come along with in a project. Excuse me. And it's dead straightforward, really easy to create a new workbook. Okay, click save. So that's going to set up that OneNote as a new tab, which we'll see shortly, and then everybody will be able to very easily add their own OneNotes. What's also really good is that when I was actually setting up that tab, I actually said, well, post the fact that I've created this within the channel. So when we could click back onto conversations, we can actually see that we have created this Project X OneNote file, so people can look at that. They can actually reply to that message as well. So it's really intuitive to use. Another thing which is quite helpful and handy is, I don't know if you're aware of a feature that's called Planner, which is part of Office 365. So this is a very simple project management tool. We can create a new plan. Okay. And again, we're going to post that to the conversations, but we can create our buckets, and then we can create our tasks within those buckets, and then we can assign those tasks to users to complete. So it's a nice way of having a very simple project management tool within Teams as well. So, right, okay, covered all of that. Now, one of the main things and benefits that we see to a lot of the Office 365 stack is this collaboration within a Word document. So what we have open at the bottom, and hopefully this will all come up to somebody. Yes, okay. So I have obviously opened up this live co-authoring document on Colin's machine. I then also have the same document open on my machine. And you can see that from up at the top right-hand side is I'm sharing my live edits, and I have the same on my side. Now, to get this ability, you do need to be running the latest version of Office 365 Pro Plus, and there's Office 2016 with the latest updates as well. So quite simply, I can start typing within a Word document on the laptop. Good morning, and you can see that is me. That highlights that I've actually added that information. Now, Colin can't delete it. I'm trying to delete it, but because I've added the comment, it won't go. Okay, very simple. I again put that onto type that in here. I then see on my screen, which you can't see, but I'm just trying to show it you as best as we can. I can delete that. So I've deleted good morning, and it will catch up, but it will obviously has to save the changes and then write it back. But that good morning will go in a few minutes. So live co-authoring like this is available in Microsoft Word, Outlook, not Outlook, sorry, Excel and PowerPoint. And we see that as a really, really handy feature. It stops the situation of a user making a change in a Word document, saving that change as version 1.1, emailing that to everybody. That then gets changed, and then it emails back around everybody. So it eliminates that bloat of additional or identical data and information that's held within file servers, and that everybody has a copy of within their Outlook, which will bloat all those systems. So that's why we see, and that's why people are saying that Teams will become just as common as Outlook, because there will be features that you just won't need to do in Outlook anymore. You can do them directly in Teams. Right, okay, so hopefully you found that quite helpful and useful. So that really is the main crux of that team section. There's an awful lot that you can do within it, and we're obviously just scratching the surface of it. But if in the future you want if you wanted to take you through some more of the finer details, that'll be absolutely fine. I'm more than happy to do that on a one-to-one basis. Other sections then within the Teams client is meetings. So we mentioned that we showed that on the slide deck. So we can see here our calendar from Outlook. We can we can add meetings into our Outlook calendar. It will show through in Teams, and we can do it the other way around as well. Again, really straightforward to use. Schedule a meeting. A title, start date, end date. You can select a channel, so you can actually post a meeting into a channel, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. And then you can invite the people that you want to. So again, start typing their name, and it pops up. Very, very straightforward. Again, time zone if that's applicable, and details. So let's just discard that for the time being. Now we just said that you can post that within a channel. So let's just jump back to Teams and look at the webinar project. And this is how it looks. So Sam created the webinar meeting, posted it within the channel, and that's how you can see it visually. So from here you can view meeting details. And then you can join the meeting as well from here. So it's really is a very powerful tool. The next bit very quickly is the audio and video conferencing. So within a chat, again, top right hand side, you can quite easily create an audio call, or you can have a video call. Click of a button stuff. Within the Teams, again, within the conversation history, not the conversation history, but the conversation section, the tab, at the very bottom, you have a Meet Now. So you can click on that, and everybody within who has access to that Teams will be able to meet and join a audio call or a video call. The last bit here, but we will get onto the phone system bit shortly as well, is files. So we can use Teams to obviously access all of our recent files within the Teams client, but then we can also see our other cloud storage. So at the moment we have a OneDrive for business, so we can see all of our. We don't have anything at the moment in here. We have our notebooks that we created, but we can see all of our OneDrive as well from the same application. And again, if we wanted to add other cloud storage, we could see all of our Box or Dropbox items in there as well. So it's really quite powerful as a tool to use. So from this Microsoft Teams client, we can make telephony calls. So Colin, can you jump us back to the slide deck for us? We should have in there
just before we do that, we've got a question here actually, which we'll just quickly cover off from Alistair. So when you book a meeting, can you do room bookings at the same time?
Interested in the group account? Yes, you can. Okay. So hopefully people can see this. Meetings, schedule a meeting. Under location here, we have a Microsoft Teams meeting, so that's a over the internet or over a conference. If you were to have rooms within your Exchange Online, so the resource mailboxes, then yes, they will all filter into here. So you can actually have a room as a location for your meeting, and that will then obviously add that meeting into that room location calendar and block it out from there. So yeah, absolutely.
Great, brilliant. Okay, yeah, let's jump back to the slide deck. Okay.
So that was just a live demo slide. Okay, so this is the phone system element. So within your Teams client, you will see an icon on another icon on the left hand side, which is just the calls and the telephone. It's very simple. You get you click on that, you then simply get a dial pad, and you can call your number. A mobile number, landline number, can be both domestic or it can be international, depending on licenses that you either have available or plans. So it's simple. It's just as simple as that. You then also have your contacts or your address book on the right hand side, and you can click to dial, click to call those users. Very straightforward. I'm just going to jump. That's just how it looks and feels. But the main elements to calling. So there's two ways of doing this. So traditionally, you have to have what's called a phone system license, and then you also have to have a calling plan. Now, these are additional licenses. Certainly, the calling plan is additional license on top of your existing Office 365 licenses. If you have Office 365 E5, you get the phone system license included. But we have a table, I believe, in the next few slides to just highlight that for you. So if you assign your users a phone system license, you give them a calling plan at 120 minutes or 1200 minutes. So that's the domestic side, or you can have domestic and international. You assign a telephone number, so you can port your existing numbers over into your Office 365 tenant if needed. You can have them as service numbers, but if this is something that's of real interest to you, then by all means we'll have a one-to-one conversation, run through it in a lot more detail. So that's the calling plans, and you just call. You use that keypad, make your call, and that's it. Obviously, when you hit your limit on your minutes, you can then purchase additional minutes if needed. But one thing to be aware of, if you have, for example, 10 users that all have a calling plan, what happens is it bundles those minutes together to share between those 10 users. So one user could quite easily be quite a heavy user on the telephony side. Somebody might not need many minutes at all, but it will bundle and share those minutes out. So it's not something that you need to be too careful of for a heavy user, but it's something that there's lots of reports in Office 365 to demonstrate and show how many minutes people have used. So yeah, that's the pretty straightforward, and that's how it was in Skype for Business Online as well. You had to have a phone system with a calling plan. Now, what is very new, and we see this as a big thing that's coming. We do really see it as quite a big item. Is what's called direct routing. So direct routing is, you have Microsoft Teams, and you have your existing PSTN provider that you might well be in a contract with at the moment. However, you want all of that Teams functionality, but you also want to be able to make calls. So what direct routing is it allows you to make those calls from Teams to your existing PSTN provider. What you need to do that is you need a phone system license. You don't need a calling plan, but you need to provide and provision what's called a session border controller, an SBC, which sits in the middle of Office 365 and Teams and your PSTN provider. That then makes the calls out and the calls coming inbound as well. Now we already have quite a lot of discussions going on with other businesses around this, and we do see this as a very powerful feature. There are situations and setups that we can have as well. So that SBC can be your own, or it can be there can be a partner hosted solution as well. So that SBC can be multi-tenanted, and that's something that Easy Solutions are developing quite extensively now. So that's another option going forward. So we just wanted to highlight to you that that's what's possible and available, and it works really well. And you can also then add in other systems on premises. I don't if you have call recording maybe, or you have other auto attendant software, then that can be fitted into your existing solution. So it's certainly worth a conversation if you want to.
Adam, just on this, I'm
Yeah.
just thinking of some customers that we've spoken to quite recently where they've got existing contracts in place for their SIP trunk that they have provisioned at the moment.
Yeah.
Could this work for that situation where they want to maybe keep the current contract in place with their SIP trunk provider?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it's primarily designed for that reason. Microsoft were fully aware that they weren't getting the business through the calling plans. People didn't want to just lift and shift all their numbers and break contracts. Yeah. So this is again one of the main reasons why they've developed teams and they've pushed this out, so that they can you can use that full function of Teams with your existing telephony provider.
So if you've got an existing contract and you've got some really attractive pricing from your current provider that you want to keep, you could drop one of these devices into the mix and use that with Teams.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah, I get you. Great.
Okay. The next slide we have is just some of the licensing in and around what's needed. So obviously Teams comes with all Office 365 plans that we can see across the top there. For Teams to be fully functional and working, it does need SharePoint online, because the actual Teams sites that you create are stored in SharePoint, and you also need Exchange Online, because the Teams that you creates a shared mailbox, as it will, within your Exchange Online platform. So it's not a license. You don't need to license that mailbox, but it creates that mailbox there for a couple of reasons. Obviously, you want to create calendar invites and meetings, but also that conversation, that persistent conversation, has to be stored somewhere, and it's stored within Exchange Online, that mailbox. So again, you can provide the security around those conversations as well. If you need to archive them, you need to keep them safe. You need to stop users from deleting them potentially, or any litigation or compliancy requests or requirements. You can do that very easily with an Exchange Online. To have phone system, you do need to be using, or do need to have licenses for Enterprise E3. Like we said, you can bolt on the phone system license to E3, but with E5, you get it directly. You get it already provisioned. Other things, so if you want PSTN conferencing, PSTN conferencing is where you can host a conference where users or other organizations or businesses can dial in via landline or mobile phone. So again, that table there quite clearly shows that from Business Premium onwards, we can bolt that on. With Enterprise E5, we get it as part of that plan already. But again, if you do want to have port your numbers into Office 365, you need to look at those calling plans as well. So that's, and then obviously there's some pricing down there, which is standard Microsoft pricing with the for that. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and this is what we're finding. So I mentioned at the start that we're helping existing and new customers to make the transition to Office 365. And the initial project may just start out with moving just your email, so email into Office 365, and maybe some of your file and folder shares that you want to drop into Skype for Business or SharePoint. And this is something that is maybe overlooked, that Teams is already inclusive within your licensing. So if you have any of the licenses that are on screen right now, then Teams is built in as standard. You get that as part of the package. So there's no additional cost for Teams itself. We've got a raised hand here from Trudy. If you want to drop a question into the Q&A section, that's fine, or we can turn your mic on.
Try it. Let's give it a go.
Trudy, are you there? Okay.
They are on. There we go.
Bear with us. Okay, maybe not. Yeah, Trudy, if you want to drop a question into the Q&A section, we'll address that at the end, which is coming up very shortly, and we'll take your question now. Anything else to add on that slide?
Not from that slide. Colin, can we just jump back to the Teams client? Just because I think this is important just to share. So I just looked at my notes and want to make sure we cover this off as well.
Yeah.
Now I created a team just called external. You can allow external users into your teams. So if you have another organization that you want to collaborate with, you can allow them into that team, and they can quite easily then have access to all the files, conversations, meeting notes, whatever it might be, planner, things like that you need to share. But just be careful, obviously, that external user, they're added into that at that team level, they will be able to see all the channels underneath. So it might be worth thinking and having, if you need a specific team for external users, that you create a team per project or for a certain thing, really, because obviously we don't want to be you want to be careful of any security and compliance. So that was one thing I just wanted to get across, is that you can use Teams externally like that as well, and it's again, it's another massive benefit over Skype for Business Online, which you just don't have that feature at all.
Great.
So yeah, sorry. So yeah, that was I wanted just to jump back and share that bit.
Okay, just back to the slides. Okay. So to finish off, really, in terms of next steps, then I mentioned at the start that we're working with a lot of customers around Office 365 and, of course, with Microsoft Teams. So a lot of the projects that we're going through revolves around consolidation. So if you have, in the scope of Office 365, you get email filtering with Exchange Online Protection, you get archiving as standard, and consolidation, like I say, is a big part of moving customers to 365. And with those included as standard, it makes sense to maybe drop some of the third-party services that you have, and especially with Teams in play. If you can think of the likes of Dropbox, any kind of third-party file sharing facilities that you may have where you're sharing large files with customers, then Teams can really kind of step in and replace those third-party services that you may have in place right now. Even WebEx capabilities and GoToMeeting, Teams is really going to start playing in that space quite heavily. So in terms of next steps, then what we highly recommend is what we call a discovery call with either myself or Adam here at EZU. It's a call really that's designed to offload information. So it's to understand where you are as a business, to offer expert guidance and advice around Office 365 and Teams. Of course, there's no commitment with this discovery call, as we call it. So you're not obliged to take your inquiries any further at all. And of course, there's no salespeople on the call. We don't want them anywhere near these calls. It's literally just an engineering conversation, if you like. And then, of course, after that discovery call, which usually takes around 30 minutes, then we can give you a clear price, so a way forward like I say, clear advice and a price in the form of a scope of work, which is a useful process to go through. So there'll be a number of pages to this document. It will outline your current position, the steps we recommend that you take, and it will highlight our process, so how we would go about moving you as an organization and a business to Office 365, and how you would want to implement Teams and some of the elements within Office 365 itself. So that process really is fairly regimented. It's a 6-stage process that we would go through. There's an assessment stage where we'd want to understand your environment as you stand today, what you have implemented. Are you running Exchange on-prem? What's the current state of it? Like I say, a lot of customers that we're working with, we're helping to consolidate down. We're also helping with the upgrade process of perhaps an aging Exchange environment. So that's where we really understand what you have on-prem at the moment and what you're currently dealing with. And then there's an envision stage, really, where we look at the Office 365 and perhaps Teams in more detail and really understand your business requirements. And then we design a solution. So we move to a design solution stage, and we architect a functional deployment so that it meets your business requirements. And then the last stages is all about deployment. So the actual implementation of Office 365 or Teams within your organization. And that will be based on the agreed design stage on the previous slide. And then, of course, we can provide ongoing support. So something I neglected to mention at the start, really, in terms of what EASU is all about, we are a CSP, if you want to use the acronym, a cloud solutions provider. So we are fully accredited and certified by Microsoft, which means that we can provide everything from your basic licensing for 365, perhaps the additional elements that Adam spoke about in terms of the phone system capabilities of Teams. So basic licensing right through to implementation assistance, so migration assistance, the whole. I'm just thinking there. So in terms of the deployment stage, the education that you see on the screen there, it's all about providing ongoing support. So in terms of the education, we don't train people. We don't have training sessions. We like to bring you on board as a supported customer, and we would help to educate you as the administrator of the 365 platform and Teams, and of course your end users as well. So it's more of an education process that we take you through, and we let you run with that new information that we pass over to you. And of course, support is a big thing. So ongoing support is provided directly from EASU. So the platform itself, you might be wondering, support is provided by Microsoft to a certain degree, but it really does stop at the platform. So Microsoft will support and maintain the actual 365 platform, but the tenant itself, so the 365 tenant, your own space within Office 365, and the data that is held within Office 365 is still your responsibility. So it's to help you with the configuration, the implementation, and backup and recovery and so forth, which is what we can offer as part of the ongoing support.
Just one thing to add: that if you are, if you've obviously got your existing Office 365 platform, we can quite easily help you manage those licenses as well, and get you to adopt those licenses, manage that for you as well if need be, and help you really get that return on investment that you put into Office 365. We like Colin said before, we don't want to be pushy. This is your platform at the end of the day. We just want to be here to support you and help you as best as we can, and we will be very honest and open what's possible and what's not possible, to really help you as a business and use this platform to its full potential.
Yeah, license adoption is a big part of what we do. So as a CSP, we can provide licensing in a slightly different way to the way that Microsoft provide them at the moment. So if you were to buy a license from Microsoft, you are committed annually. Where through EZU you can purchase them on a monthly basis, which is quite appealing for the smaller business. And yeah, adopting them is certainly something we can do. Yeah,
very straightforward. There's no downtime or anything. Not. So yeah, that's great.
So we'll just flick over to any questions. Let's just see if we've got any on here. Any outstanding questions?
We've got a few.
We've got a few. Yeah. Okay. So from Trudy that we tried to bring in earlier, can you use Teams and never implement SharePoint?
Yes, you can. Yeah. So we did, like I mentioned before, that you need SharePoint for the back end because that's where it stores the data. You don't need to have access to SharePoint or even give out what those SharePoint links or sites are to your end users. If you wanted to do more, if you want to have more granular control, then obviously and greater security, then SharePoint is the way to go. But no, you don't need to at all. You don't need to worry about that. You don't need to worry about Exchange Online either. For the mailboxes, it manages all that for you.
Great. Okay. Another one here from Peter. So if external users can be added, do you also need to have an Office 365?
No. So if you were to add an external user, they just need to have what's called a Microsoft account. So that could be an Outlook account, anything like that. It doesn't have to be an existing Office 365 account. Just to be an external user.
Also, will this be the same case for individuals, i.e. volunteers or temp workers?
Yes, that's absolutely the case. Yeah, you don't need to license those guest users. You don't need to spend any money on that. They're purely external. So that's all fine.
Okay, great.
There's a couple of we have to within Azure Active Directory to you need to add in the guest access into Azure AD, but again, it's a tick box or a slide box, so it's straightforward to do.
Great. Okay. Any other questions before we finish off? We've got just a couple of minutes. I think we're good.
Can you use Teams? Yeah, I've done all that. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. No more questions. Fantastic. Thank you so much for everyone's time. There is a link if you would like to book onto a discovery call, which I mentioned, which is something we do highly recommend. So we'll send you a follow-up email with the link on, but if you want to jot it down quickly, it's just quite simply e-zu.co.uk/Teams discovery call, all one word. And on there, you'll be able to just specify a date and a time, a preferred date and time, just provide your details, and that will come straight through to us, and we can book you onto a discovery call, and we can discuss Office 365 and Teams in much more detail, and we can look at your requirements, your business requirements in a little bit more detail.
And likewise, if you want to leave us any comments or any other questions, then by all means get in touch. We'll provide email addresses, telephone numbers, and things like that if we need to. That's not a problem at all. If any positive feedback, any negative feedback, again, more than happy to take that on board. And thank you very much for your time this morning. And yeah, if you've got anything else, then please let us know.
Thanks, everyone. Speak soon. I'll just